So we're recording and we're looking at a sample AP exam question, not necessarily the one the exact one you're going to get, but something very similar. You'll have questions like this on the final exam and on the AP exam. So I wanted to show you how you can use the wrong answers really to help you study more than just knowing the right answer. So the question here is, which of the following conditions is necessary for productive efficiency? Now, right away, you should know that what this means is that average total cost equals price, okay? When we can say that when we can say that we are producing at a level where cost for each of our units equals the price of each of our units, then we are productively efficient. Okay, so that's what we know. So answer A. The firm is producing at the point where the marginal product of labor is greater than the average product of labor. Well, you should know that that if you look, I don't know if I have the graph right here, but if you look at what, in order for most firms, or not most, but all competitive or perfectly competitive firms are going to produce where the marginal product of labor is, or the marginal revenue product of labor is equal to the wage rate. So that doesn't even, so this may or may not be true, but that doesn't really tell us if it's productively efficient or not. So that's not really necessary for a firm to be productively efficient.
Would you mind move the screen a little bit? I can't see the full question on A.
Can you see it now?
Oh yes, thank you.
Okay, good. The average product of labor, if we're actually looking at a graph, so you don't even have a graph that shows marginal product of labor, right? Your graph that you look at, that you're learning, and I should have pulled up here. I don't. Let me pull it up here. Thought I had it. I'll get it real quick. It's in here, I do believe. Yeah. Takes a while for these to open up sometimes. It'll open up in here in a minute, I hope. There we go. Wow, it took a long time. Okay, so this is a study guide that you guys have and should have been, and have had for a while, and should have been looking at for a while. It's acting really slow. I don't know why it's not responding. Here we go. Wow. So I'm trying to find the one. Let's see. Jump down. Oh. Right there. Okay. So your graph right here, and so my point is, what I'm trying to get at is, when you look at it at a wrong answer, like but what do I know? What do I need to know about this? So this helps you study. What graph do I have that talks about marginal product of labor. What is, what do we even, what is that, right? And one of the things that you want to look at is that the idea that a firm is going to hire labor up to a point where the marginal revenue product of labor equals the marginal revenue cost. Nothing about average, right? Now, and then you can take that one step further and say, well, what is the difference between marginal product and marginal revenue product? Well, marginal revenue product is marginal product times the price. So if a worker is able to produce 2 more units for the firm in an hour, and the price of those units are $10, then that worker has added 2 times 10, $20 in revenue as a result of his or her work. So you would say that his or her marginal revenue product is $20 an hour. And if the wage is greater than that, then you're not going to hire the worker. Like if this wage rate right here was $30 an hour, and you had a worker up here that had a marginal revenue product of only $20 an hour, then you're not going to hire. Lower, right? So let me just pull this out so I can not confuse you. And I'm going into a detail on this because I want to show you all that you can actually look at from just one question. It points you in a lot of directions for studying. Okay, so if I put this guy right here, come on, not quite so large. Okay, so now we can see that where a firm is going to hire is where marginal revenue cost, which in this case is wage, is equal to marginal revenue product, right? Whoops, this point right here. Sorry, get this guy. So this point right here. And so that's just going to help you. So going over a question like this is going to remind you that you need to study and understand this particular set of graphs, right? The labor market, this perfectly competitive, and the individual firm. Okay. Now, B, the firm is producing at a given level of output with a least cost combination of input. Well, right. Least cost is going to be where average total cost equals a price, right? That's where that is. So that's the actual answer. That's going to be this point right here, right? This point right here, or in this other, if in this other, that would be this point. Whoa. In a natural regulated monopoly, it would be this point right here. And so that is where average total cost equals a price, okay? And that would be productively efficient. That would be like saying that the firm is producing at a given level of output with a least cost combination of input, okay? Not now that doesn't mean they're going to necessarily produce there, but that is what it means to be productively efficient. Now, see, consumer surplus is minimized. Well, no, because when the firm produces here, then you've got a surplus in the market as you should know, and this is once again review of all this, right? Can't quite get that to work. Oops, sorry, wrong guy. Let me get this guy. Nope, no, I didn't get. Anyway, roughly all that. I got to kind of play around with him a little bit. There we go. All that. Okay. So the question or answer C helps you review, well, what exactly is consumer surplus? And it's certainly not a minimized, it's maximized if the firm produces at a level where average total cost equals a price, and where they're productively efficient. Okay. There are no external costs. What does that even mean? Well, that means that in the market, there is a marginal social cost that is higher than the actual private cost. Okay, in this supply curve right here is the marginal private cost, and then if there's a negative externality or an external cost, like in the case of pollution, the cost of whatever external cost that a pollution would cost the society, you would have another supply curve or marginal cost curve that was marginal social cost. So that doesn't have anything to do with being productively efficient. But so you would know it's a wrong answer because because you can certainly be productively efficient without having any external cost. However, looking at this wrong answer reminds you that you need to understand what's going on. When you have external cost, you're actually producing at a level of output that's higher than the optimum. This would be the allocatively efficient, or the or the socially optimum level of output right here. So when you have an external cost, this is just review, you can remember that you're actually producing an output higher and at a price lower than the socially optimum or the allocatively efficient, which is not the same thing as productively efficient. So this one question has gotten us into a lot of different areas. Now, the wrong answer right here for E, it's wrong because you can be at this point right here in a perfectly competitive firm without any government intervention. This is just market forces bringing them here in a long run equilibrium. However, in a regulated monopoly, you would have. So this helps you review. When would you have a government regulation in order to get to a point of productive efficiency, which would be right here, where average total cost equals price, or what they're calling fair, in this graph, they're calling it fair return, which means they're productively efficient. Now, what has to happen is typically a monopoly, as you know, and this is review, this helps you review. Where are they going to produce on their own? Well, on their own, they're going to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, right here at the monopoly quantity, and the price is going to be way up here on the demand curve. So in order for them to charge a lower price and produce a lot more output, go from QM to QFR, it's going to take the government regulating them, saying this is what you have to do, right? So there is a time when E is going to be correct, but that's only in this one example right here. In this example right here, when you have productive efficiency, with a monopoly where average total cost equals price, there absolutely has to be government regulation, which is why that E is a wrong answer. Okay, so do you have any questions? I just wanted to show you how you can use one quiz question to do a lot of study a lot of different things.
Where's the allocative efficiency on the perfectly competitive graph?
It's always going to be where marginal cost equals marginal benefit, which is demand. Marginal benefit is demand. Marginal cost is supply. So the allocatively efficient point is always going to be here, where marginal cost equals a demand, but the demand, remember, equals marginal benefit, equals, so where marginal benefit equals marginal cost, that's where we're allocatively efficient, or we also call that the socially optimum, SO for socially optimum. So the term socially optimum and allocatively efficient are the same thing, where marginal benefit equals marginal cost. And up here on this perfectly, in this perfectly competitive firm, it would be right there, right? Where marginal cost equals a demand equals a price, okay?
Could you go down to the monopoly graph again?
Sure.
So the farm wants to produce at PM QM, is that right?
Right.
And the allocative efficiency is PSO to QSO? No, PFR to QFR.
No. You're right. The allocative efficiency is where marginal cost equals a demand, way down here. Productive efficiency is where average total cost equals demand, or price, right here. Okay.
Could you remind me what's the difference between the allocative efficiency and the productive efficiency?
Productive efficiency is where the production cost equals their revenue, right? So it's at their least cost combination, right? It's where, well, it's the easiest way to remember it is where average total cost equals demand or equals price, right? So
that's PSO to QSO.
That's productive efficiency.
Productive efficiency.
Where the cost, the average total cost
equal to the price.
Right, equals price, right? Equals where, yeah, and that's where they're going to produce. So that would be that in these graphs. That would be here. See here.
Yes.
And that would also be
that's allocated efficiency.
That's productive efficiency.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah. Allocative efficiency is the same thing as saying socially optimum. And this happens to be in this graph right here the same, right? Because marginal cost equals price equals average total cost. So in this graph right here, the point where they're productively efficient, they're also allocatively efficient, because allocatively efficient is where marginal cost equals price. Now in this graph down here, they're different, right? They're productively efficient here, productively efficient where average total cost equals price or equals a demand.
That's productive efficiency.
Productively efficient. They're allocatively efficient where they're socially optimum, where marginal cost equals price. Okay, that's where they're allocatively efficient. Remember, socially optimum is where marginal benefit equals marginal cost equals demand. So socially optimum is the same thing as saying allocatively efficient. Allocatively efficient. Okay?
Okay. And in perfectly competitive, it's all the same. The allocative.
Well, it is if they're in the long run. It is only if they're in long run equilibrium, right? If this curve right here, let me get something to draw with. If this curve was, if average total cost was down here, right?
Yeah.
And they were making economic profit, then firms would come into the market, driving the demand in the market down because more. Actually, no, sorry. It would drive the supply as more firms came into the market for whatever this good is. That would drive the supply curve to the right, which would drive the price down to a point where price now equals average total cost. So in the long run, enough firms are going to come into the market where there are going to be at that point where it's the same, right? Now, if they're losing money, right? If it's up here and they're losing money, if they're making an economic loss, then firms leave the market. So the supply curve in the market, is going to shift to the left as firms leave the market, and that drives the price up to a point where once again, average total cost equals price. And so in the long run, a perfectly competitive market is going to be at a point that is both productively efficient, where average total cost equals price, and allocatively efficient, where marginal cost equals price. Keep in mind, they're always going to produce where marginal cost equals a price, no matter whether they lose or not. Okay.
Okay.
So if we're looking at another graph, let me just, since we're on that, if we look at this graph, I hope I'm going in the right direction. I might not be. Maybe I'm not. Okay. I'm not sure where it is. See, here's a firm that's in a long run equilibrium. I can't say it. Long run equilibrium. But I wanted to show you the cost curve. So let me shrink this a little bit so I can see what I'm looking at here. Yeah, that one. Okay. Where'd it go? Okay. So in this case right here, let me just grab this real quick, and I'll just show you some stuff here. So in this case right here, the firm is going to always produce where marginal cost equals a price. So if price, and remember, they're a price taker. Okay. So let me make this easier to see. Okay. So let me just turn this. Come on.
This is perfectly competitive.
Yeah. Right. So they're always going to produce. So say price is here, right? Say price is here, given to them. See, the market here sets the price, right? So wherever in the market supply equals demand, that's going to be where the price is. Okay. So the price comes from the market. So let's just talk about this part right here, and let's just say price is coming from the market and is way down there. Well, they're going to, actually, let me put it here. Like that. So they're going to produce where, give me a second here so we don't get, it's a little bit easier to see if we use a color, right? So they're going to produce right here. Always. They have to produce where marginal cost equals price. So they don't have any choice. They have to produce here. That's where they're going to maximize their profit. However, if this is where price is from the market, this firm right here with an average of a variable cost above, hold on, just give me 1 second. Let me grab my little ball here. Above with an average a variable cost above price, they're not going to operate at all. They're going to shut down because they can't even meet their fixed cost. Now, if the price from the market is here, right equal to average variable cost, then they're going to produce, once again, where marginal cost equals price. Get him straight. Is that straight? I don't know, looks straight.
So it doesn't matter which farm, whether it's monopoly or competitive, perfectly competitive, is all going to be price equal to marginal cost.
No. Sorry, I don't mean to scare you, but no, absolutely not. That's one of the biggest differences, and we'll talk about that. But the marginal cost for a monopoly or a monopolistic competitor is always below price when they are not regulated. Okay. I mean,
below price?
Hold on. Did I say that wrong? Hold on. I might have said that wrong. Let me just jump back over here. Yeah. See, it's way down there. See, because look, they're going to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, and the marginal revenue curve in a monopoly is a downward sloping curve that's below the demand curve. In a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue and demand curve are the same thing. It's the same thing, and it's perfectly elastic, right? That's a competitive firm. Marginal revenue equals demand, and it's not downward, it's straight across, right? So they're going to produce where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, which is the same thing as demand. In a monopoly, demand and marginal revenue are different. They're both downward sloping, but the marginal revenue is more downward sloping. So they're going to always produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, but price is way up here. Okay?
Oh, okay.
See, both firms are going to produce where marginal revenue equals, that's where you're confused. Both the monopoly and a perfect competitor are going to produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. They're both going to produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. This is true. But marginal revenue for a monopoly is way below price, right? Whereas marginal revenue in a perfect competitor is price, right? Is price, is demand, right? All the same, okay? Because it's a price coming from the market, right?
So which point on the monopoly does they produce? So it's marginal revenue.
They both produce where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, both of them. It's just that marginal revenue equals marginal cost for a perfect competitor is also price, is also demand. It's all the same. Marginal revenue and demand and price and average revenue for a perfect competitor are all the same. Whereas for a monopoly, they're not. Marginal revenue is down here, whereas demand is up here. They're different. Two different curves, right?
That point is marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. Okay.
Yeah, but that point for a monopoly is way below price, right?
Yeah.
Or is below. I don't know how about way below price, but in this one it is, right?
Down yeah.
Whereas price is up here. Whereas up here, it's the same, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, going back to this over here, just keep in mind, if the price, let me just give you, if the price is up here, once again, price coming from the market, So this firm doesn't have any control over the price. They're a price taker. Well, they're going to produce where marginal cost equals price. So they're going to raise their output up to here, and now they're going to stay in business because their price, the price, not their price, the price,
which is marginal
in the
revenue.
market is above the firm's average total cost. So this is their profit. This is their economic profit right here, because their average total cost of each of their units or whatever they're producing is below the average revenue or the marginal cost or the price. They're all the same, right? Once again, this line right here for a perfect competitor is marginal revenue, demand, average revenue, and price. So if average total cost is equal to average revenue, if average cost is equal to average revenue, then they're going to make zero profit, right? If average revenue up here is above average cost, they're going to make positive economic profit, right? Okay. And the difference between average variable cost and average total cost is average fixed cost, right? So you should really study this handout and read all the stuff here and make sure you understand what's going on. That's really going to help you. Really going to help you. This is a very, very helpful handout.
And I just want to make sure that demand is equal to marginal benefit.
Yes. Yes.
And it's also equal to marginal cost. I don't know.
Say again. What did you say?
I missed something on the graph. Could you go to the other graph, the monopoly?
Sure.
Natural regulated monopoly. Thanks. Marginal cost. Okay.
No. This right here is when I was saying this is when they're allocatively efficient. Okay. This is that point is not where they're going to produce. They're not. They aren't going to produce here. This is where they would be. This is this point.
Allocated efficiency.
This is this point right there, right?
Where they want to produce is the profit maximization, right?
They're gonna no. They're gonna maximize their profit right here.
Oh yeah.
See, profit is maximized where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. That's where profit is maximized. So that's where is right here, and they're gonna charge a price up here, right?
Yeah.
On the demand. So
okay.
In terms of their price, so they're gonna make a bigger, they're going to make a huge profit. That's what monopolies do. They make a lot of profit, right? Because their price is so far above their marginal cost, right?
But they're not efficiency. Okay.
Now their profit right here is from here to here. Okay, that's
it's above average total cost.
Yeah. And if you looked at total revenue versus total cost, the largest difference, the biggest, they would have the most revenue, they would have the biggest difference between their total revenue and total cost right here. This is where they would have the biggest difference, where their revenue would be would be bigger than their cost totally right here. Right? So if you drew a total cost curve, it would look like this. If I can draw it, this is going to be ugly, but I will try. Okay, it would look like this. See, this would be its high point right there, right?
Yeah,
it would look like that, right? Something like that. Only better than that, right? So total revenue is the highest, right, straight up from
Yes. Yeah.
from where a marginal revenue is a zero, right here. That's where total revenue is maximum. But that doesn't mean that's where profit is maximum. See, that's where people get confused. This is where total revenue is a maximum, right here, okay? The curve would look, again, it would look like, I can't draw it very well, but it would look like this, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, give me a pen. It would look like this, right?
So the price only equal to marginal revenue when it's only competitive, perfectly competitive.
Right, or if they regulate this, I mean, you could have a price equal to, actually no, you would never be that down there. Well, actually no, wait, no, that wouldn't work. Yeah, you're right. Only in a perfectly competitive, right? Because why is that? Well, if you really want to get into it, the reason why this is downward sloping, because marginal revenue is going to be whatever they earn on the next unit that they sell, right? So if this is the 1,000th unit, right, and they lower the price a little bit, then what happens in the market? Whoa, I kicked something. Sorry about that. What happens in the market is that marginal revenue is way down and below because everybody gets to pay that lower price. Everybody in the market from here to there. Okay, it's not just they're not paying, you know, they're not paying a high price here, lower. No, wherever the price is, everybody on the demand curve pays that price. So it not only lowers, when they lower the price, it not only lowers the price for the next person that's going to buy it, it lowers the price for everybody back up here too, right? So the marginal revenue is always going to be lower down here. But see, what happens in a perfectly competitive is they don't have any control over the price, right? They can't lower the price in order to sell more. That's one of the big differences, right? A
Yes.
firm can't lower the price to sell more. If they lower theoretically, what would happen in a perfectly competitive firm, in a perfectly competitive market, let me just jump back over. Actually, let me just put, if they lowered the price, go away, you. Yeah, okay. If this firm lowered the price to here, that would mean that they're trying to sell at a point let me think how that would actually work. If they tried to lower their price lower than the market, then they would well, they just wouldn't, because they would make a lot less money. What they would try to do is raise their price. And if they tried that, what would happen is all the consumers would just go somewhere else, because theoretically, in a perfectly competitive market, there's a lot of firms selling the same thing, right? In this market. So say this is a market for coffee, and all over the city, the price of a cup of coffee was $2 everywhere you went. Well, if one coffee shop tried to raise their coffee to $2.50, nobody would go there. They just go to the ones where it's still $2. So they would lose all their revenue. So that's why they can't change. But a monopoly has the ability to raise or lower the price. If they want to sell more, they could lower their price, and the quantity demanded would go up, right? With this, so they have more power in the market to do what they want, right? Okay. Let me go over one more of these questions, because I had like three of them I wanted to show you. What time is it? Man, it's going by quick. Let me go over one more anyway. This is going to help you answer what we did before. Okay, so a firm is producing the allocatively efficient level of output if total revenue is equal to total cost. That would be where average total cost equals average revenue, which is right here, but it's also right here, okay? So in these two cases, that is true. However, it's not always true. Because there are cases where we showed before where average total cost can be see, the key here is if total revenue is equal to total cost, that means that average revenue is also equal to average cost, and that's where they're productively efficient. We went over that and over that and over that. Not necessarily allocatively efficient, right? Because if you're in a monopoly, you can be producing here and be productively efficient, where average total cost equals your price, but allocatively efficient would be here, right? Where marginal cost equals demand or marginal benefit. So that's why A is not true, but it helps you kind of review, right? Review what's what, right? Now, B is the answer, because it is where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, okay? Price equal to average total cost. Well, that's true only if the firm is in long run equilibrium. Then price is going to equal average total cost. But that's not always true. It could be, they could be earning a loss, right? They could be in a situation where they're still operating. Where'd that guy go? Where'd he go? Let me find it. I have him here.
I'm sorry, I'm getting confused.
Okay.
I thought the answer is D. When the price equal to marginal cost is allocatively efficiency.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I confuse you. Yeah, here.
So the answer. Oh, okay. Where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost is what they produce, whether it's perfectly competitive or
right. You see, I just said that wrong. So good for you.
Yeah, to make sure.
You get confused here easy, right? Because in a perfectly competitive firm, this is true, right? It is here, right? Marginal cost equals a marginal revenue, but not in. But in order for if you're right, you're absolutely right. This is always going to be true, because if we jump back over to if we look at where marginal revenue equals marginal cost in a monopoly, well, that's way down here, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's not, and if they produce here, that's not going to be anywhere near where there would be allocatively efficient, which is way out there, isn't it? Okay. You're absolutely right. Now, price equals average total cost. Well, that is only going to be true, once again, if they're in long run equilibrium, which they're not always. They could be where'd that guy go? They could be, producing here where price is here and production is there, and average total cost is up there. And they're still going to produce as long as price is above average variable cost. So that's not always true either. But just knowing that helps you review, everything, right? Now we already said wrong one. Sorry, we already said that it's D, and then price is equal to total cost. No way. Total cost is the cost of producing everything, and and that's never going to be. I mean, total cost is the cost of producing, 5,000 or however many units that they are, and that's not going to be the price ever, is it? So it's not E. Total cost is is going to be price times or marginal cost, or I should say always average cost times quantity, which is going to be huge. That the curve will be like way out, way out there, right? So did I go over this one?
Nope.
No. Okay. So this is another one. Which of the let me see what order we're going in here. Okay, so I did that one. I had a graph. Okay, yeah. Which of the following is true of a monopolistically competitive firm in the long run? So this helps you understand, these graphs, just studying these questions. Okay. So A. Is it A? Price exceeds marginal revenue, and the firm earns positive economic profit. Well, if a firm is earning positive economic profit, that means that price is above average total cost. So that would mean the average total cost curve, and I can't draw it, but I'll try again, would be like down there, right? And then they're going to produce here, right, where marginal revenue equals a marginal cost, and they're going to have a price up here, and that's from here to here would be their positive economic profit. But because average total cost is below price, they're not in long run equilibrium because they're earning a profit here, right? So that can't be it. Price equals marginal revenue. Equals marginal revenue. No, not for a monopolistically competitive. Price never equals marginal revenue. Price is always above marginal revenue. So price only equals marginal revenue, and this helps you review. Say, well, where does it? Well, it's going to equal marginal revenue for a perfect competitor. And if the question had asked you about a perfectly competitive firm in long run equilibrium, C would be true. They would be earning zero economic profit, and price would equal marginal revenue. Now, price equals a marginal cost. Once again, this would be true in earning zero economic profit for a perfect competitor, but it would not be true for a monopolistically competitive firm because price obviously is above marginal cost. Let me get this out of the way. Marginal cost is here, and price is way up there. So that's not true for this type of a firm, for a monopolistically competitor. It is true for a perfect competitor. Okay, so
why is the price exceeds the marginal cost? Is the answer D?
The answer is D. Absolutely.
Okay. Why is the price exceeds the marginal cost? In the
price is going to be over marginal cost, and the firm is going to be earning zero economic profits if it's in the long run equilibrium. So D reflects what we're seeing right here. This is a monopolistically competitive firm in long run equilibrium right there. Okay.
So does this only go with monopolistic competitive?
I don't know why that's in there. It's weird, huh? Yeah. What only goes? What are you saying only
The
goes?
price exceeds marginal cost.
Or a monopoly, or a monopoly.
Okay.
But a monopoly is going to earn positive economic profits. A monopoly is only one firm, so there's not going to be anything like going towards long run equilibrium. Firms are not going to enter the market. See what happens when a monopolistically competitive firm is making a positive profit. Firms come into the market pushing supply down to
No.
the right, which pushes the price down, right?
Yeah.
And it also makes the demand curves for each individual firm shift to the left because they're not going to be as much of demand because there's more choices. They can go, outside their that one firm, and so that will make their demand. So what would happen if um, the average total cost curve was here? What would happen over time in this case is that firms would come into the market and cause the demand curve to shift down, because as consumers would have more choices, then each individual firm's demand would shift. Actually, it would shift like this. If I could draw it, it would shift like this, like that, right? And then until it eventually got to a point where they were in long run equilibrium. Okay, that's what would happen. Um, so yeah, so this could happen. This could be true. E could be true for a monopolistically competitive firm, but not in long run equilibrium. When they're in long run equilibrium, they're earning zero economic profits. Okay. And that's the ones I wanted to go over. So we're kind of out of time. I'm going to do another a session on a Thursday, and I'm going to go over the free response that you're going to be doing for your final. I'll talk about that, and you can ask any other questions you want to in terms of the study guide. Did that help clear up some of your confusion
Yeah,
on the
it
graph?
clears a lot, but I still have some quizzes question now I want to ask. I don't know
Yes,
if they
okay, we have time for one more because it's almost 9, and I didn't want to go over an hour. So yeah, I'll go ahead. Ask me one more, and then I'll and then if you don't get a chance to ask me on a Thursday, send me an email. But it's better if you come in on the Thursday so I can just talk to you. Okay. So what's your question? You get
um
one more.
is quiz 9 number 8?
Quiz 9, number 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, you are studying. I love it. Quiz 9, number 8. Okay, well, let me go to quiz 9, number 8. Okay, what's your question?
So within the range of like the answer is a C. I don't understand why it's C because when I look at the graph, in the long run, the average total cost it seems like decreasing at first, but it increasing in the end.
Let's look at it because that could be. You're right. That can be very confusing. A natural
But
monopoly. A
that's
natural
increasing
monopoly.
from that's not a monopoly. Yeah, that's monopoly.
Eh,
It does start decreasing at first, but when I think about long run, it's like longer than that, maybe.
well, that's just one graph, but typically, See, this graph right here is showing it. You're right. It's showing it going down mostly, and at the very end, it starts going up again. But if you Google, let's just Google it, okay, and you'll see.
What?
So what happens with it with a natural monopoly is that they have a good example would be the water company, the water for a town. They have it's very, very expensive. Let me just show you a graph here. It's very, very expensive to produce. So this is more a typical of a natural monopoly right here. If I could get it to come up, they produce. They build a plant to. I'm trying to get this guy right here, and I can't get him. They build a plant to produce purified water for a whole town, Eric. And once they do that, they don't have to do anything else except, maybe add a little bit of, connect houses to a pipe, right? So for them, the average startup cost is so high that as they produce more and more and more, because they built such a huge infrastructure to start it, right? Like the electric company, the cable company is kind of an example. The water company, that the more they produce, their average cost actually drops because their fixed cost at the beginning is so high, but then it lasts. It's a long time. I mean, I live in Long Island, and the water plant that purifies the water was probably built decades ago. So they're not having the cost to spend a lot in terms of what they initially spent in order to continue to purify water. So as more and more people come into a town, they get more, and I mean, we're paying more than they're actually than it's costing. It's costing less and less and less. That's the theory, and it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes cost begins to go up. But the question, though, when you look at it, wherever it went, where'd it go? It says, which of the following is consistent with the conditions of a natural monopoly? Long run total cost decrease. No, total cost is going to go up. So you almost have to look at all of it. Long run average cost remains constant. No, it does not. It's going to go up or down. It's going to go somewhere. Marginal cost exceeds average cost. Well, let's look. That's not true, I don't think. Let's look at that. Marginal cost is here, right? Down here, wherever they're producing, marginal cost is less than average. And if we look at the one that I pulled up on the internet, it doesn't even show a marginal cost. That's not going to help us. Okay, so, but that's just not true. That particular answer. And then the other one, E, setting price equal to marginal cost will maximize profits. That's not true either, because they don't set price equal to marginal cost to maximize profits. They set price way above, right? They maximize profit where marginal cost equals marginal revenue, and price is way up here, right? So if you weren't sure, exactly 100% sure, confused a little bit, A, B, D, and E are absolutely not true. So it's got to be C, right? And typically, this is what happens. This is more when you Google a graph or look at a book and see a graph of a natural monopoly, more often than not, they will not show the average total cost curve going back up again. More often than not, they'll show more of this, the average cost going down, 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 down. Okay? Does that help you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's why it's important when you study to look at all the wrong answers and figure out why they're wrong. If you can figure out why all the wrong answers are wrong, you'll really understand it, okay? I'm going to stop the video because we've gone for a long time. Stop. And thank you for
Okay.
coming in today. Thank you for being the making the class work, you know.
Sure.